board seats available coming up in this next election cycle. If you're interested, please call the county clerk recorder. They do have an office in Atascadero that can be open for to do your paperwork by appointment. So please call the county clerk recorder and they can help you out with that. Ms. Parent was received the Essential Leadership Skills Certificate that she's been working on for quite some time. That's through the Special District Leadership Foundation. 17 people in the entire state have that certificate. She's the only one in San Luis Obispo County. That's all I have for tonight.
Directors, do you have any questions on that?
I have a question. So first off, again, congratulations on earning a certificate. Can you explain, what kind of like the program was and all the fun stuff we went through?
Yeah,
I don't know, like,
Kelly hands me his paperwork that I wrote for him. It's a leadership skills certificate to run for special districts. It's all about organization, finance, board, rules. It took me about a year and a half to accomplish all the things they needed done. So.
Awesome.
Anything? Baker? Dr. Davis, anything on that?
No.
Okay, move on to District Council. Christine. District Utilities.
There's a report that's in the packet. I have nothing to add. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Director Calvin.
I did have one thing. The IWMA Summit, what was that? What exciting things happened at that summit? Was it just talking about how they're making things a little better, or what was that all about? Man, I just like
It was mostly about regulations coming down the line. I don't have it in front of me, but the SB, what is that, Kelly? 1383, but there's two new ones coming down the line for recycling, where you can't have packaging. It can't be recycled in California, then it won't be able to be sold in California. And then there's a few other ones. They want the labeling to be correct. So they're putting that on the distributors or the people making the product. And again, won't be able to be sold in the state of California. It can't be for the regulations. And then there was cool trucks. They brought trucks for the new hydrogen fuel and a bunch of, it was pretty cool. I think it's hydrogen right here. And what are those new trucks?
Yeah, they had some are CNG, some are hydrogen, and the big push is electric, but
Exactly.
yeah, they haven't got that totally nailed down yet.
They don't have the technology yet to make that worth it. That's what I was hearing.
But they did start their first fueling station in Oakland for hydrogen. So in the state, they're at the port of Oakland, they have a hydrogen station, and they're using hydrogen trucks around the port to move equipment around. And so that's kind of where they're starting it, to see as a pilot program, instead of pushing the trucks out into the communities first, or at least trying it and saying, all right, does it work here, and trying to expand from there.
There was a lot of discussion on education, and we just had their group, Science Discovery just went to San Miguel Elementary School and worked with the younger elementary kids, I think first and second grade, because they're realizing those are the kids that are doing the recycling in homes and stuff, and they're going to teach us parents how to do it.
Baker.
Yeah, quick shot on San Luis Terrace well is offline.
So the Terrace well and well 3 both have radio problems. So they're both operational, but they're not in radio service.
Okay, when will they think they'll be back up?
We're working on getting the problem fixed, but it's not just those two sites. Basically, all the sites have to be redone.
So, what's the radio?
So the radio is the communication link between different sites. So
Okay.
between the tank site and the wells, the well to well.
Okay, got it.
So without that, it can't automatically read the levels of anything and or report that it's on or off. So it's basically it's just in hand operation all the way.
One more question. Do you have like a chart of the well levels or the past few years? I'm just curious if the levels have declined or moved or...
So we don't have a running chart of that. I can tell you though that since I've been doing these reports, it's generally the same. It's gone down a few feet. The last couple of years it's gone up.
Okay.
But historically, at least as long as I've been here, it kind of is basically the same in the summertime and basically the same in the wintertime. But we are improving our overall data collection, so we will be able to provide that in the future.
Okay. Thanks.
Director Davis? Move on to the fire chief's report.
Good evening again. The fire chief's report is submitted as written. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Director Collins?
Nothing.
No. Did you? You did the district meeting?
Yes. Baker, you have any questions?
I'll ask you my question. This has nothing to do with...
What's that?
I'll ask you later.
Director Davis?
No.
Any comments? Do you have any input from the community on the fire or any of the reports that were just given? If so, please approach the lectern. Okay, moving on to the consent calendar. The items listed below are scheduled for consideration as a group and one vote. Any director may request an item to be withdrawn from the consent agenda to discuss or to change the recommended course of action unless the item is pulled for separate consideration by the board. The following items are recommended for approval without further discussion.
Yeah, like full item 5.
That one's been pulled, but we have 1 through 4. And I need a board member, or public comment.
Any public comment at this time? Anybody have anything on item 1?
1 through 4, yeah.
One is 5-224, draft San Miguel C.S.D. Board Directors Special Informal Workshop Meeting Minutes. This number 2 is 5/23/2024, draft San Miguel C.S.D. Board of Directors Groundwater Sustainability Agency Meeting Minutes. Approve those. And number 3 is 6/6/2024, draft San Miguel C.S.D. Board of Directors Special Meeting Minutes. Page 72.
And then number 4.
Number 4 is adopt regulations for candidates running for the board for the San Miguel Community Services District for elected office for November 5th of 2024 presidential election, resolution 2024-25.
I'll move to approve consent items 1 through 4.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor to approve 1 through 4 the consent calendar, second by Director Calvins. Motion by Director Baker. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none. 5-0-0. Now we go to the item 5, Rod.
Okay. Item 5 is revised district utility fee schedule, resolution 2024-13.
So this item is to approved resolution 2024-13 adopting the revision of fees, or revised fee schedule for things like water meters, notices, other services, repairs for service, or repair of services. This particular request is only to change the cost for water meters to reflect our actual cost. Change the cost fire flows by hydraulic model, which previously was $500, and we've changed it to actual cost by the district engineer. That is a cost recovery, as all of these are, is cost recovery. We were actually losing money at $500 because depending on where the fire flow is, if a model was not, or if a flow was not run for that specific area previously, then it takes a couple hours of somebody's time to do that, and ends up costing us more than that. Lastly is wastewater receiving, which was not on that previously, which is at 11 cents a gallon. This is only for septage haulers that bring septage to us on specific permission. It is not applied to the general population.
Yeah, comment.
Yeah, could you explain what fire flow is a little bit more detail? Not really.
So a fire flow is basically the mechanism to determine what the available flow is from a specific fire hydrant. So the number or the GPMs available from a fire hydrant. And if you do it in person, then you're using two different hydrants, flowing from one where you're actually wasting water onto the ground and taking residual static and residual pressure, so you know basically, okay, at 70 pounds, our static pressure is 70 pounds, which means that that's the system pressure with no flow. Then you have a residual pressure at some flow. So if you open a hydrant all the way and it's 1,000 gallons a minute and residual is 65 psi, then you can basically reasonably predict that you would have 65 psi at 1,000 gallons a minute at that location. So if we do it in person, our staff does it, and that's what that costs us for. If we do a hydraulic model, then basically the engineer is doing that in the computer instead of out in the field. So they're not wasting water, they're doing it as a model based on the calibration from previous fire flows, based on line size, based on static pressure, tank level. It can be much more accurate as a hydraulic model. The main benefit is that it doesn't waste any water.
And the fees are going from what to what? I don't see it.
So on the hydraulic modeling, it's going from 500 to a cost as built by the district engineer. So if it takes them 20 minutes, then it's considerably less. If it takes them 3 hours, then it's going to be considerably more.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
But basically, it's a direct reimbursement.
Okay, and then looking at water meter installations, we're going from 450 to 483, which is about a 7%. And on the, for the 5/8 to 1, and then for the replacement, 375, 383, which is like 2%. But on the wastewater receiving, we're going from 8 cents to 11 cents, which is about a 37.5% increase. Seems pretty steep. Why is there such a dramatic increase in that?
In the meters or in the?
No, I'm down to the wastewater receiving. We're going from 8 cents to 11 cents per gallon, which is like a 37.5% increase.
So initially, when we first started doing this and the first rate was applied to it, it was based off of the costs we knew for treating wastewater at our plant and disposing of solids to the landfill. Since that time, the disposal of solids to the landfill has gone from roughly $25 a a ton to $65 a ton. So part of that increase includes the cost of disposal of the solids material that's left over.
So how does solids relate to gallons? So we're charging them by the gallon, but like, it sounds like our cost is based on a ton or pounds.
Yeah, it's an estimation of how much or what percent they're bringing is solid. So even if they bring a truck that seemingly has no solids, there is suspended solids, which settle out through a treatment process. So it's an estimation based on the amount that we were historically bringing in and the amount that we're estimating we're bringing in on top of that.
And how accurate is the difference between the actual and the estimate?
So unfortunately, we don't have any mechanism to get that down to be perfectly accurate. If anything, it's probably on the low side.
And how much of this wastewater disposal do we have coming into us? So what's the amount typically?
I don't have the total amount that we've brought in. I know roughly, I would say on average, they were getting 15 to 20,000 gallons a week.
Really?
Probably. Actually, it's probably more than that. Around holidays, it seems to be more. But we don't have, it's not coming on a specific schedule. It's just as they need to bring in.
And what is this? It's like septic? Oh, what?
So it's septic waste from, or residential septic waste.
Okay.
So we don't take industrial septic waste and we don't take regular commercial septic waste.
Gosh, it seems the last time I talked to our guys, it's been a haul it like
Well, and that's part of
200
it.
miles away, but now
So-
they just take it here.
We're the only one in this county that takes it.
Okay.
And we only take residential septic waste.
Okay.
Otherwise, haulers have to go to Santa Maria, which is the next closest, or to Sullivan. And if you have really bad stuff, you have to go all the way out to Los Angeles.
So you think, so the cost, I guess I'm not really getting that we have a real actual knowledge of what the cost is. I mean, we know that we're paying $65 a ton, $25 a ton. But when you go from 8 to 11, it's not calculating in my mind. I'm not justifying it. I mean, really. I mean, yeah, we need an increase, but specifically, why does it have to be 37.5%?
And when I worked out the costs for general treatment through the treatment plant, then added on the additional cost for the additional septic, the additional solids recovery, that's where it ended up. It's not, there's a lot of factors that go into it. I mean, there's our manpower in dealing with it in the first place. There's extra time in cleaning aerators and ponds. There's extra PG&E power to run pumps and aerators. So there's a lot of different little pieces that go into it,
But we're not required to take this.
no.
Okay.
And they're not required to bring it.
Right. And then we're expanding our system, or apparently our current system is overloaded or near capacity. And this sounds like it contributes quite a bit to that.
So it does contribute to that, but were made very well aware when they started bringing it here that we would only take it as we had capacity. So if all these housing projects come through and those eat up our capacity, then we wouldn't take this anymore.
But the new system is going to add.
So the new system will add capacity, but we're not adding capacity for this. Although this does generate revenue that would offset the cost of that treatment.
Let's wrap this up because it's.
Okay. How much revenue do we usually?
I think last year it was in the $100,000 and $20,000.
And there's no way of separating the specific cost for that?
Not at this point.
Okay. All right, good, thanks.
Well, I see a lot of trucks hauling stuff in there quite a bit. And I don't see, apparently it's costing us money and we're not making any money out of it, and it's overloading our treatment plant. So my recommendation would be let them haul it somewhere else. You know, you just got to saying we're the only ones that are taking it. So, you know, so let's quit taking it.
Well, we can stop taking it, but then that's revenue that we're not getting. So,
Well, it sounds to me like we're losing money on the revenue. So, anyway, that's all.
All right. So at this time, do we have any public comment? Seeing none? This time I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor to approve by Director Gregory to approve Resolution 2024-13 to rise the district utility fee schedule, second by Director Calvins. We'll have a vote. Director Calvins?
Yes.
Director Davis?
No.
Director Gregory?
Yes.
Director Baker?
Yes.
Director Smiley?
Yes.
Passes 4-1-0.
Before we move on, Scott, we have, and according to our handbook, directors have 5 minutes to make comments. Would you keep time on the timer so don't we get too far afield here? We have a long meeting tonight.
My apologies.
It's okay. At this time, I'll have monthly financial reports for May 2024. Recommend receive and file by board consensus.
Good evening. The May financials are on pages 87 through 133 of this month's packet. Along with that information, I did want to mention that we finally received the FEMA reimbursement for the lift station damage from January 2023, 18 months ago. So that will go back to the payments we made. Let's see here. I wanted to point out on page 89 of the board packet, you could see where we track our reimbursement for projects. For this, it's the recycled water pipeline. I include a project cost reimbursed by the grant to date. So if you want to follow along, you'll be able to see what's coming back from our expenses. We also received our first payment for the non-district calls that the San Miguel Fire responded to. That was part of a resolution from last year. We're working on getting the audit scheduled, hopefully for August, but I haven't gotten firm dates yet. And besides that, the reports are submitted as written. If I can answer any questions, please let me know.
Thank you. Director Collins.
None this time.
Director Baker. Director Davis.
I'm good.
We need board consensus.
Public
Public comment. Public comment, please. Okay. Approach the lectern. Sign in. Now we'll have board consensus.
Receive and file? Yes.
Yes. Receive and file.
Okay. Davis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. I don't need, yeah, I just need consensus, so I heard you guys' nods. I'm just getting mad, I'm just getting off the end of the phone. Good night, Aaron.
Good night, thank you.
Okay. Next is number 2, review and provide direction regarding additional water rate structures. Alternative 1, existing rate structure with annual CPI increase. Alternative 2, Director Baker's concept with further analysis by the board rate consultant.
So at the last board meeting, we discussed some additional alternatives to the rate study increases that were proposed. And one of the ideas that came up was a CPI increase as the basis, which is legal. The board can implement CPI rate increases that are based on a current 5-year rate study. So as long as the CPI increase does not go above what the rate study says the board needs on each year for their increase, the rates can be based on CPI. And either keep the rates as they are now and do a CPI increase based on that rate, or you can utilize the first year rate that was utilized in the study, or I think we're at the second year now.
Happy birthday.
My second year rate. Either of those would work, and the CPI increase would be active through the rate study 5-year, which is to 2027. Is that right? I did look up the CPI rates that are currently used for your current contracts, such as the San Miguel garbage, is the Los Angeles, Long Beach, Anaheim Annual Urban Consumer Price Index. For an example, the annual CPI increase from May 2023 to May 2024 was 3.9%. Over the last 5 years, it was a total of approximately 19% increase in CPI adjustments. So that's pretty average. If you look at previous years when we're not in a recession, for around 18 to 20% is pretty average for 5 years. So that's what you would be looking at for 5 years of CPI increases, or I guess we'd be more closer to 16% for 3 years of CPI increases.
Thank you. Any comment on that? Director Collins?
No, this time.
Director Baker?
Not right now.
Alternative 2, Director Baker's concept with further analysis by the district rate consultant.
So I discussed what it would take to get to the point where we do Director Baker's proposal. The consultant is estimating it's going to be $15,000 in addition to the approximately $3,000 that we would have paid just for noticing it opening. Part of that is going back to a lot of the work that was done to create the tiers in the first place. So the work that was done to create the tiers for the rate study that's currently in effect is old enough that they don't feel confident that using those is going to produce a valid result to move forward. So we'd be redoing some of that work. So that's what the estimate is. It could be more, it could be less. It would be based on a time and material basis. We would do as much work as we could as staff to do, get the information to them, so they don't have to do as much, but the cost of it is still going to be that.
Dr. Collins? Director Baker?
So going to these consultants are my favorite subjects. So basically, what are they looking for? They're kind of looking at the rate that's going to cover the cost to operate the district. Is that kind of the bottom line that they need to get to?
At the very basic, that's what they're doing.
Right. So the deal that I did, the revenues were extraordinarily close to theirs. In fact, I think mine was a little bit over. So I'm not really getting why we're paying them. We would have to pay them 15 grand. Other than, well, I don't know. Just leave it at that. You don't need to respond.
Just, I won't directly respond to that. basically, if we were to say, okay, we want 3 tiers, or the board were to say we want 3 tiers still, and we want to keep those tiers the same, then the work would be a lot less. Justifying that you have more or less in a tier going forward, you have to justify that the cost of producing the water and selling the water in that tier is appropriate. Which is partially why a lot of agencies are going away from tiered systems. And as stated by myself multiple times, when we implemented the current rate structure, we were operating differently than we are now. Now we're operating with one system, basically one well at a time that's serving the whole system, no matter how much water we're using. So justifying having multiple tiers is a lot harder because the only thing you're paying for at that point is a little bit more power to run longer, or a little bit more chlorine to pump to disinfect longer. You're not paying any sort of significant amount over one setting to the next.
But you've got multiple tiers in your meters.
So we have meter sizes
Right.
that are based on the amount of water that you can get out of the meter.
Well, you have 2 sizes that are the same, then they move up. If you look at the usage on your meter, some of your bigger meters are using less water than your smaller meters.
Yeah.
So this idea that you already have a tiered system.
Right. And if we were to move forward with that same scheme where we have 0 to 5, 5 to 12, 12 to 5, then it's more defensible than if you go and change it. Because as soon as you change it, now you've opened the whole thing up to more scrutiny.
Director Hicks. You have anything?
Yes, my personal feeling is, we should just go with the CPI. And, we're gonna say, that would be for 5 years, and like, the lawyer said, it may go up 19% over a 5-year period. I think anybody should be able to live with that, even though I personally feel the rates are too high to begin with, but, that would be what I would do.
That is definitely an option.
Yeah.
Okay, so you good?
Yeah.
Public comment, please approach the lectern and speak, sign in.